New debaters discover very quickly that one of the greatest challenges in a debate round is not just making arguments, it's keeping track of arguments. In order to become an effective debater or judge, you need to have a method for keeping track of all the arguments in a debate round. Flowing is a special form of note-taking designed specifically for debate. Flowing enables the note-taker to follow every argument and its progression through all 8 speeches. Mastering the process of flowing takes time and practice, but when used correctly, a good flow can become the greatest asset in a debate round. Before you begin, you will need the necessary materials. First, you'll need paper. Make sure you have plenty of it. You'll also need a pen to write with. We suggest using 2 different colored pens, one color for affirmative arguments and one color for negative arguments. It really doesn't matter what color, just keep enough pens with you to choose from. While any type of paper will work, an easy way to begin is with legal-sized paper. By folding the paper in half 3 times, you will have 8 even columns, one column for each of the 8 speeches. You can even write the name of each speech at the top of each column to help you keep track. Now that you have your paper and pens, you can begin flowing the round. There are 4 steps to flowing that we'll be learning in this video: outline, evidence, content, and responses. The first step in flowing is capturing the outline. Instead of transcribing the entire speech, focus only on the outline points. Outline points for the affirmative might consist of definitions, harms, the plan, and advantages. Outline points for the negative might be topicality or disadvantage, perhaps a point about evidence. By the end of the speech, you should be able to look back at your flow and see how many arguments were presented. Let's create our own affirmative outline. The definitions come first. We'll want to specify what words were defined and the number of them. Next, the affirmative might list a couple of harms. Write down that it's a harm, but also what the harm is about. It will be important later to remember what your opponents talked about. After the harms come the plan. That includes the mandate, agency, enforcement, and the funding. Now that we have a complete outline, this enables us to remember every point our opponents made. But we can make this outline even better. By abbreviating these outline points, we can become much faster at flowing the outline. For example, significantly is a long word. We can make it SIG, S-I-G, instead. Dependence on foreign oil can take a long time to write, so we can cut that down as well. Most mandates are fairly lengthy, but you should only write down enough to remind you of the main point. Or how about the enforcement? We can shorten the longest words, or even better, use the official acronym DOT. Use the same strategy for the funding. Next, let's cut the outline points. Outline points, like definitions, are used in almost every round. You can just use a capital D for definitions. Harms can become a capital H, and so on down the flow. Now you are almost ready to flow all the outline points in the debate round. The last 2 parts of outline flowing are very important. First, leave plenty of space for arguments. In this example, the note-taker is squishing arguments together, making it difficult to tell how many outline points there are. We recommend using 2 sheets of flow paper to avoid cramping arguments. Let's go back to our original outline. Instead of putting all the arguments on one page, we can make more room by separating the case from the plan. So, you will have definitions and harms on one page, and then turn the page to flow the plan. This will help keep arguments clear and organized. The last important thing to remember is never flow top to bottom in every column. Always match responses to the outline points they address. This means you should never flow speeches from top to bottom in every column. In this example, notice how you can't tell which arguments the 1NC is responding to. If the negative team makes an argument against harm 2, the response should be placed horizontally from the harm. By flowing this way, you will find that one argument and its responses will flow horizontally across your page, making it very easy to track. After you have mastered the outline stage, you can begin to flow evidence, specifically the sources. Like the outlining stage, it is important to be brief and quick in the flowing process. The best method is to write down the author and date only. If there is no author, you can put down the publisher instead. In order to differentiate between evidence and outline points on your flow, create a special mark for evidence. It could be a dash, a circle, or a box. This provides you with a visual way of quickly assessing how much evidence was read in any given speech. It's also helpful when you know they read evidence, but you can't remember the source. Just draw the empty box or circle. This helps you recognize quickly what points had evidence and what points did not. Now that you're capturing all the argument tags with the evidence to support them, we can add the third step, content. Content refers to any analysis the speaker might give, or vital information from any evidence that was read. For example, the analysis or evidence might refer to numbers and statistics that could become important later. You might want to write those numbers down. Perhaps you want to reference a direct quotation or a phrase the speaker used. You can write that down as well. In this content stage, you will want to write down any information that you do not want to forget. By the time it's your turn to speak, you might forget little details, or big details, if they aren't written down to remind you. After practicing the first 3 steps of flowing, you're ready for the 4th step. This last stage is the hardest by far. In this stage, you are not only capturing all the outline points, all the sources, and some content, but you're managing to write in your own speech outline as well. Of course, even in the earlier stages, you will want to be flowing your own speech. This usually happens during prep time, but for those debaters who are quick, they will be able to write down their responses to harm 1 before the 1AC moves on to harm 2. Depending on how quickly your opponent is speaking, this 4th step may not always be possible. The goal, however, is to keep your pen moving. If you finish gathering all the information from the current speech, outline, evidence, content, and the speaker has not moved on to the next outline point, you definitely have time to start jotting down a few responses in your own column. Flowing is a unique but effective method for note-taking debate rounds. If your flows are disorganized and messy at first, don't be discouraged. Keep practicing. With time, you will be able to master each stage, and your flows will become the most useful thing you carry into a debate round.